Hey guys, my name is Jeff, and I'll be guiding you through this tutorial on how to use the P-CITES checklist to evaluate resources that you find online.
Now right now, you should be on a website that looks very similar to this. The only difference is instead of this screencast video, which you're watching right now, which should be in this area, I have a placeholder. And the reason for that is that, well, I'm recording this video right now, so it can't possibly be there yet. Anyway, should look very similar to this. Directly below the video that is right here that you're watching right now should be a checklist that looks like this. And there's two parts to this checklist. One is a list of resources that you can explore, and there's the actual checklist that you're going to use to evaluate the websites that you explore. So if we look on this side first, if you click on any of the pictures or any of the text that goes along with the pictures, it'll take you to a website. So let's click on one. I'm going to click on the picture for Germans in the Woods. And when I click on that, it brings a resource up that looks like this. Awesome. And what we're going to do is we're going to be flipping back and forth between the checklist and the resource. And as we explore the resource, we're going to answer the questions in the checklist. So I'm going to use a resource that's not one of these. And that's because I want you to have all the fun of discovering these resources. So I looked on Yahoo News this morning and I found this article. So that's the one I'm going to use. So starting right off, let's see what the checklist asks for. It asks for my name. So I'm going to put my name in. The next question is, what is the title of the resource? And this is under the prior knowledge category. And we're going to engage our prior knowledge before and during exploration of the resource by responding to these questions. Awesome. So let's go back to the question, which is, what is the title of this resource? So if I look back over, it says the title of this resource is Mysterious Objects Punching Holes in Weird Saturn Ring. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight and copy that, come back over, and paste it right in. The next question. Alright, so the next question asks, based on the title of the resource, what do you think the topic of this resource will be? And I kind of worked ahead a little bit, and I put down that it's going to be about the planet Saturn, and it's going to be about the space junk flying through Saturn's rings. How much do you already know about this subject? Gives me the option of I am an expert, I know a whole lot about it, I know the basics, and I know nothing about it. Now I know a little bit about Saturn. I know that it's a planet. I know about its rings and stuff like that. So I'm going to say I know the basics is how I'm going to answer that. Moving down. In no more than a paragraph, summarize what you know about this subject based on your prior knowledge. This is what I know. I know that Saturn is a planet. I think it's the sixth one from the sun. It has rings. The rings are made of rocks and frozen stuff, I think. Okay? And that's my prior knowledge. Moving down. Start to explore the resource a bit. So I looked around the resource. Once you are sure of what the subject is, search the internet for two other resources that have a similar topic. Post the web addresses of those two links here with a tweet link summary of each. And the two resources I found were this Wikipedia article, which looks like this, and I posted up a search that I did that looks like this. Okay, so the first one is the Wikipedia article, and it gave me a bunch of information on what the F ring is. So I learned a little bit about what the F ring is. The search results I actually put the title of the article in there. Now you might want to do the title of the article, or you might want to do what the subject is. Okay? To find the Wikipedia article, I did a search for F-ring, and so it brought me here. For this one, I put in the actual title of the article. And I found out that it's on a lot of different websites, which was really, really encouraging to me that it's probably a legitimate source because of that. So, what I put down is, I put down the basic details that I learned about Saturn, and then I said that I found this search result. I found that the article has been published on many sites, because I found that to be significant. The next question says, take a closer look at the content of the resource now. Okay, so I read it a little closer. How do the ideas fit with your prior knowledge and or the two new resources that you found? What are the similarities and differences? Write your observations in the box below. Looking at all the stuff, what I wrote down is I said they fit pretty well with my prior knowledge about rocks and ice making up the rings, because the Wikipedia article said that much, and it showed me that much. The links confirm that there is an F-ring. That's with the Wikipedia article. And the fact that so many websites have published the same article, it makes me think that it is important. Okay? Next section. Credentialing the author. Respond to these questions concerning the author's credentials. What is the author's name? When I looked at the site, a lot of times it'll have the author's name at the top of an article or at the bottom of an article, but you might have to do some searching around. This one happens to be right at the top, and it says it's Clara Moskowitz. So I put down that Clara Moskowitz is the author. What is the name of the publisher? Well, the publisher is actually not science, space.com. And also Yahoo News. So the website it's actually on is Yahoo News. So that's a publisher, so I put that down. But Yahoo News in this case is actually publishing on behalf of another publisher. They're simulcasting it, so to speak. So be careful with that. Who the publishing company of the article might be different than the site that you're reading it on. So you might have to mention both of them. Does the article provide a link to a page that gives the author's credentials? I said yes, and what I found here, it does give the author's credentials right here, Assistant Managing Editor at space.com. But at the bottom of the article, I noticed that it says that you can follow space.com Assistant Managing Editor Clara Moskowitz on Twitter. And so I found her Twitter profile. And then this didn't tell me a lot more about her actual credentials. It did show me that she's very actively having conversations with people about space-related things. But it didn't tell me too much in the way of credentials. The next question. Now let's do a Google search for the author's name. Visit some of these sites and provide both the web address and a tweet-length summary of what you find. So I found two web pages. The first one was a page that actually had a video interview with her. So I watched this video interview with her talking.
And in undergrad I majored in astronomy and physics. But, I really trace it back to when I was 4 and had my little book of stars and planets that I was obsessed with.
So, that gave me a little information about her. The other article that I found is actually on Tech Media Network. Apparently space.com is owned by them. And down here it gives a little bio. It says that Clara has a bachelor's degree in astronomy and physics from Wesleyan University and a graduate certificate in science writing from the University of California, Santa Cruz. She writes for both Space.com and Live Science. So, seems to me that she's qualified to be doing what she's doing anyway, with astronomy and physics degrees, and then also certificate for science writing. So I mentioned those two things here. Alright, so the next question says, now let's do a Google search for the publisher name. Visit some of these sites and provide both the web addresses and a tweet link summary of what you find. Okay, so let's go to Google and search for space.com. And I believe what I did was I looked at the Wikipedia site, told me a little bit about the fact that CNN anchor Lou Dobbs and Rich Zarnadik started this in July 1999. And it's kind of a light article, not too much. But then I clicked on space.com is back in orbit, and it gave me a bunch of information. This is from Forbes, so it focuses on the business side of things. But the one thing I did see down here that interests me, in November 2004, Stone launched a new multimedia site called LiveScience.com and changed the company's name to the more generic Imaginova. So, the parent company for Space.com is called Imaginova. So what I put down here is I put the two links, put down some basic information. Space.com started in 1999, provides reading on astronomy and news in that field. And then for the Forbes article, it's part of the company Imaginova, started by Lou Dobbs, who was former CNN news reporter. Next one. Based on the information you found on the author and publisher, do they have the credentials to know what they are talking about? I said yes, and this is how I determined that. I said they've been around for over 10 years, which means they've been successful enough to stay in business. I couldn't find any websites that said they were not a good news source. So, they have their articles published on lots of other news sites, so those sites trust them, it seems. Do they have a reason to have a biased point of view? I said yes, because they focus just on space and astronomy stuff. And they employ people that have training in that background. The bias, I think, could be that they want to promote the work of people in this field. Do they provide any sources to supplement their argument? Yes, they do. It's not sources in the traditional sense, but they do quote people directly from the Cassini imaging team. And the Cassini is a satellite that's taking pictures of Saturn right now, and they're the ones that are in charge of reviewing those pictures. So quotes coming directly from them are sources directly from the source. If there are any links to these resources, click on them and explore the site that they take you to. Do these sites seem legitimate? I said there's no links, but there is in this article. They have the photos from the Cassini imaging team. So this would kind of be like links out to those, I suppose. They're like directly in the article. So there's that. After you get done to this point, you would click submit. You would get a notification. It said, thank you for completing the checklist. Please click on return to form to start reviewing the next resource. So I would click on submit another response. And I would go through and I would pick out my next resource and review that. And this concludes this tutorial for day 1 of the P-CITES framework checklist.